Knockout Legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. So today we're going to talk about Bob Arum and some comments that he makes on an interview with Fighthub, and it's actually concerning the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight, and he gives his honest opinion on the fight and why Spence lost and other things. So I'm going to play the clip. So with no further ado.
Watching what he did there against Errol live, but just overall, your thoughts on the fight and what impressed you the most?
What impressed me the most, and I predicted the outcome of the fight. Look at Spence's body of work. And what clue do you see there which would lead Crawford to victory? And the clue that I saw was that of all the fights, I think at 38 fights, of all those fights, he only fought 2 southpaws. So what is that telling you? That's telling you that he has trouble with southpaw, because to have only 2 out of 38 fights, it means that his people or himself have looked to avoid southpaws. Now, Terrence's big strength is that he fights equally well from either side. So instead of opening up as a right-hander, which he usually does, and then switching to southpaw, he only fought Spence as a southpaw, and Spence couldn't handle it, particularly when Crawford, who's ambidextrous, and now his right hand is his jab, is throwing it with force and hurting Spence. So once I saw Terrence come out as a southpaw, in my mind, I thought, hey, the fight's over.
Were you surprised, though, by how dominant he was?
No, because Spence can't fight a lefty, and nobody even mentioned that. He can't fight a southpaw. If Crawford had fought him 5 or 6 rounds as an orthodox fighter, it would have been a different fight.
You know, given just the performance that he had and now the attention that he's getting and the recognition, how do you feel? What emotions come to mind, seeing that, hey, he's finally getting his just due when so many years a lot of people try to dismiss him?
Well, I don't know if anybody dismissed him because of his ability. They dismissed him because of his drawing power or what have you. Terrence was I consider Terrence a great fighter before the Spence fight, and I consider him a great fighter after the fight. You know, and his dominance didn't surprise me. He is the full boat. Now, what will eventually catch up with him catches up with all of them, and that's father time. He is 35, going on 36. So at a particular point in time, not now, but down the road, he's an athlete. And athletes die young by not being able to perform up to their old level. And that'll eventually catch up with Terrence.
They're talking about not talking about, there was a rematch clause in the contract. It seems it will be at 154. Does it go any different, in your opinion, at a new weight?
Not even. Same thing. Same thing. What's he going to learn how to fight a southpaw now? You know, as long as Terrence fights him from the southpaw stance, the result will be the same at 154, 160, 175.
In your opinion, having guided a majority of...
So from the clip there, we get there's a lot to unpack. So he gets asked a number of questions in the interview, Bob Arum, and he answers them truthfully. He actually agrees with some of the things I've said before about Errol Spence. The fact that Errol Spence can't fight southpaws, and he's a southpaw himself, is very interesting. And obviously, he said that because he's only fought two southpaws, he's avoided southpaws. So whether, sorry, just woke up. Whether that's an unconscious bias or it's just genuinely something that he can't deal with himself, then it goes to show. But Derek James is culpable there because he should have been at least been able to switch or have ammunition to attack a southpaw and use the big right hand or switch stance like Crawford does. So in that regard, he's limited. Even Cal Brook gave Crawford problems in his fight, and yeah, Crawford figured him out. But that's what Crawford does. If you watch that fight, he was actually struggling for the first, I'd say maybe 4 rounds, and then obviously he realised what Kel was doing, and then he changed his tactics. That's what being a fighter is about, and that's why I keep saying Crawford is he's just naturally more gifted. Even Spence admitted it himself in the last press conference, I think, anyway, about the tools. He just said he had the athleticism and the skill, and he had the talent. So, and then also, what did Bob say? Bob was saying if he goes up in weight and have the rematch, it isn't going to make a difference. He's always going to get beaten, because if he fights the same way, it's going to be the same result, which is the only way he fights. He doesn't fight any other way. It's not even like he can do what Canelo does and just throw shots from certain angles and just throw them shots. Like, even Crawford can do that as well. If, he's having problems with a fighter and the jab's not reaching, or the jab's being nullified, he'll throw a straight hand, like from whatever stance he's fighting from. He'll change his tactics. Even Sean had way more success than Errol, and everyone apparently thinks Sean's an easier fighter when we know Sean is a nightmare for anyone. I did a video on that, but obviously it got taken down because of copyright, because I used footage from one of the fights and it got copyrighted. So, but I'm gonna put it on Patreon so you can probably watch that. But anyway, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, even Sean gave him a way better fight, and Sean took Spence to hell and high water. So, even Sean realised when, because if you watch the video, well, you probably have to go on Patreon, but the video has like little nuggets of things in it that will illuminate what I'm about to say. Sean realised he had to fight him in a way where Crawford couldn't estimate what he was going to do or figure it out. He did finally figure out what Sean was doing, but obviously by then Sean, I think, had run out of gas and other things. So anyway, other things Bob says are just pertinent to the whole debacle of the whole fight and what Errol Spence's legacy has kind of come down to. And I still think Errol Spence does need to rematch him, because I mentioned this in one of my other videos. His ego and his pride, he's not going to let it go, and what he said as well is not going to let it go, because obviously he's been hyped up and he got overhyped, so he knows he has to either try and at least avenge that, at least in his own mind and to his fans, that it will make the situation better and probably make him feel better. But I don't think it's going to make any difference. I honestly think it may be worse next time, because if Crawford goes up and he's bigger, he's going to have more power, and I don't think it's going to slow him down, because Crawford will naturally grow into that size regardless of how big it is and the jump is. He will still be able to move the same way he moves. Spence will actually be the one who slows down. I think he will have more energy, but coming after probably 5th or 6th round, you will actually see him slow down because of obviously being at that different size. And then obviously if he's getting hit to the body and getting hit to the face, it's going to slow him down. And we don't know how much damage he's actually sustained from the last fight that he had with Crawford, because it was a bad fight, and all the other speculations and all the other stuff that's been going on with the car crashes and the other hard fights that he's had. the toll on his body. You know, realistically, maybe from the way he fought, I'm not saying if he doesn't get carried and doesn't get babied and he fights the toughest opposition that he can fight in the next division going up, he's probably got maybe two, maybe three fights at a push before he has to retire. And me personally, I think if he fights Crawford again and he gets beaten really bad, worse than the first time, he should retire. He should. And there's no shame in losing to Crawford, because then it's only one man you've lost to, and you lost to him twice going up into the divisions. Plus, he is actually a Hall of Famer, 2-time undisputed. So there's no shame in losing to him. And what is it? I think it's is it 4-weight champion as well, and he's won 9 belts. So you know he's gonna be Hall of Fame. Even if he doesn't reach the 50-0 mark like Mayweather, he's gonna have at some point. He's gonna either be on par with Mayweather, and he's gonna actually eclipse Mayweather for what he's done, because he's the first time 2-time undisputed male since I don't know when. I don't even know if we've ever had that before. I don't think we have. So anyway, do you agree with Bob Arum on his comments? And do you think Errol will win in a rematch? And how many fights has Errol Spence actually got left if he does move up? So leave your comments in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe. And that is another one from Knockout Legends. Peace.